Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillahi amma ba'du. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we want to study very briefly one of the hadith from the many hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But this hadith comes to us from his Jawami' al-Kalam. And as I mentioned to you before many times, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Utitu khamsan lam yu'ta ahadun min qabli." I have been given 5 things no other human being was given them before me. No other Nabi was given these 5 things before me. And he went on to enumerate them. He said that I was given victory over my enemies by a month's journey. So whenever he left Medina to go and get his enemy, he would already be victorious, because they were afraid when they knew he was coming. They knew that with him, behind him, were a group of people who loved death more than those enemies loved life. So he was made victorious. He said also, I was given the fact that the earth has been made a masjid for my ummah and a purifier. So we can go outside in that grass and we can pray Maghrib in that grass, Eid in that grass. You could pray in your house, you could pray in your school, you can pray wherever you want to pray. There are only a few places on the face of the earth where the Muslim can't pray, like in the graveyard, like in the bathroom where there's najas and so forth and so on. The other communities, they had to pray in the temple. Number 3, he said, I was given the permissibility of taking the spoils of war. After the Nabi waged jihad and he defeated his enemy, he can take the women, he can take the animals, he can take the people into slavery, he can take their saddles, their weapons, their property. And all of the prophets before him, that wasn't the case. If they made jihad with their people, the prophets before him, they had to put all of the spoils of war in the middle of a maidan, a field, everyone backed up, and then a fire would come from the sky and devour everything. But the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his community was allowed to utilize those things. Number 4, he said, in the past, a messenger would be sent to his people specifically, but I was sent to all of the people. No other prophet was sent to all of mankind. And number 5, and that's the point of today, he said, I was given the Jawami' al-Kalam, the ability to say something that's small, but it has far-reaching implications. The man came and said, advise me, Ya Rasulullah. The prophet said, La taghdab, don't become angry. The man said, okay. Advise me after that. He told him second time, La taghdab, don't get angry. The man said, okay. Tell me something else. He said, La taghdab. 2 words, La taghdab. Those 2 small words will save your marriage. Those 2 small words will save your life. They'll save your job. They'll save so many things. He used to give the khutbah, and his khutbah was very short. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, very quickly. And then he would pray. He said, you know a man's fiqh of the religion, his understanding of the religion, when he has a short khutbah and a long salat. Now we have to make the khutbah long. We have to make the kalam long, the speech long, 30 minutes, 25 minutes, and the salah has to be short. Because if you made the speech short, people are not going to understand anything. But during his time, he said you could tell a man's knowledge of the religion, the khutbah is short, the kalam, and the salat is long. So the Nabi was given, number 5, the Jawami' al-Kalam, the ability to say a few words, but they have far-reaching implications. So today's hadith is from his Jawami' al-Kalam. And it is a hadith that's been given to us by our mother that we honor and we respect, even more than our own mothers. And that's because she's from the best of the Muslims, and she is Aisha, the daughter of Abu Bakr. May Allah be pleased with both of them. And may Allah Ta'ala destroy the people who are enemies to this virtuous woman. May Allah destroy them. guide them to the religion or destroy them. Aisha radiallahu anha, her kunya was Abdullah, Abdullah, the mother Abdullah. Although she never had a child, she never gave birth to any child. The scholar says she took this kunya for two reasons. One of two reasons, maybe both. Number one, her sister Asma, the daughter of Abu Bakr, had a son called Abdullah. Asma was married to a man, his name is Az-Zubair ibn Awam, one of the 10 people promised Jannah. Az-Zubair. Az-Zubair's wife was Asma, the daughter of Abu Bakr, the sister of Aisha. And she gave birth to Abdullah ibn Az-Zubair. He was the first child born after the Hijrah. The Nabi left Mecca and he went to Medina. When the Muslims arrived in Medina, none of the women were becoming pregnant. The Jews of Medina said, the reason why you're not having babies is we put magic on you. And then Asma delivered Abdullah. The first child born after the Hijrah was Abdullah ibn Zubair. Aisha used to love this boy as if he was her own son. So some people said she took this name Abdullah because she was the second mother of this boy. And of course, I mentioned this here before, the Nabi said, Al-Khala bimanzilatil the maternal mother is like the real mother. Your mother's sisters. If a person in Islam, his mother died, and there was only the father, and then they had to try to figure out who's going to get custody of the child, and the father can't handle the child, the first in line is her sister. The first person in line is the sister from this hadith. He said, Al-Khala, the mother of the child, is just like the mother. And that's why in our culture, many times if the mother dies, the sister of the mother marries the father. It's something natural in our culture. Anyway, Aisha radiallahu anha, she was the maternal auntie of Abdullah. So some scholars said that's why she called herself Abdullah. Other scholars said the reason why she called herself that, Abdullah, and she never gave birth is because she was following the sunnah of the Nabi. And the sunnah of the Nabi is, even if you're not married, you should take a kunya. Even if you're not married. If your wife never had a baby, you are married, your wife is having problems to conceiving, still following the sunnah is the person says, if I do have a child, I'm going to call him Musa, I'm going to call him Ahmed, I'm going to call him Ali, I'm going to call him whatever. So in following that sunnah of the Nabi, she called herself Abdullah because the most beloved names to Allah is Abdullah and Abdurrahman. Aisha radiallahu anha, before dealing with the hadith, she was from the scholars of the companions. Anas ibn Malik said, anytime we, the men of the companions, disagreed about any issue, when we went to Aisha, we found the haqq with her. Aisha radiallahu anha, the narrator of this hadith, was the most beloved human being to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I don't know how the 15th of Sha'ban is after tomorrow. Allah forgives everyone. Allah forgives everyone except a mushrik and two Muslims who have problems between themselves. Those people from the Shiite, they have problems with Aisha. How can you expect Allah to forgive someone who has a problem with the most beloved person to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam? They have animosity and hatred for her. Year in and year out, every year, they hate her. It's part of their religion. On the 15th of Sha'ban, Allah forgives everyone except people who have problems between themselves. How do you expect Allah to forgive you when you have a problem between yourself and Aisha, yourself and Abu Bakr, yourself and Umar from the awliya of Allah? So she was the most knowledgeable of the companions, from the most knowledgeable, and she was the most beloved to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She said that the Nabi said in the authentic hadith that we want to deal with today, "Man ahdatha fi amrina hadha ma laysa minhu fahuwa radd." Anyone who introduces something in our religion that's not from the religion, it will be rejected. That hadith is in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. He said, anyone, Arab, non-Arab, man, woman, sheikh, no sheikh, anyone who introduces in the religion, the deen, anything that they introduce, is going to be rejected. That hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. There is another variation of that hadith that's similar to it, that's only in Sahih Muslim. And that is that Nabi said, "Man amila amalan laysa alayhi amruna fahuwa rad." Anyone who does an action that's not from our religion will be rejected. Hey guys, pay attention. There's a distinction between the two. The first one said, anyone who invents and introduces something in the religion that's not from it, it will be rejected. Anyone who introduces, he takes the initiative and he creates something. Allah, 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 shabbarat, shabbarat, whatever. He introduced it, it will be rejected. The other hadith said, anyone who does something, he didn't introduce it, but he came along and he did it. Anyone who does something that's not from this religion will be rejected. This hadith, pay attention, ya ikhwani. This hadith is a principle in al-Islam. It's from the Jawami al-Kalam. This hadith represents and forms for us a principle in Islam. A principle. And that is that the hadith shows for the deeds that are apparent, that we can see. Hajj, Umrah, Salat, Zakat, Dhikr, any deed that is apparent, Zahir, you can see it. Any deed that you can see, it has to have dalil for it. If it doesn't have any dalil, it's going to be rejected. Any deed that a person can actually see, you can see, touch it, you can see it, touch it, it has to have dalil. And there's another hadith, any deed that is in the inside that you can't see, your fear of Allah. It's on the inside, you can't see. There's a hadith that shows if you don't have sincerity, then it will be rejected. Anybody know what hadith that is? Anybody? Verily the deeds will be judged by the niyyah. Nah. Innamal a'malu binniyat. That hadith shows on the inside, the deeds on the inside. Tawakkul, fear, all of those issues, yaqeen, anything that a person wants to do something and it's on the inside, if he doesn't have sincerity, it's going to be rejected on the inside. This hadith, anyone who introduces or anyone who does something that's not from our religion, it will be rejected. It will be rejected. This hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and this is really important, it goes to show again that in al-Islam, unlike the dunya, in the dunya, you can wear whatever you want to wear. You can drink, you can eat whatever you want to eat, whatever you want to drink. You can sit down the way you want to sit down. It's no problem. Do whatever you want in the deen, in the dunya. But in the deen, don't do anything until you have a proof that allows you to do it. If you don't have a proof, then don't do it. Because anything that doesn't have a proof connected to it, it will be rejected no matter how sincere you are on the inside. If it wasn't done the right way, it will be rejected. Look what happened during the time of the Nabi. You all know of the case of the man who came to the masjid, and the Prophet was sitting in the masjid, and that man came in, and he went and he prayed 2 rakats. But he prayed 2 rakats very quickly. He didn't pay attention. He didn't take his time. He just prayed 2 rakats. After praying 2 rakats, he came and said, Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah. Rasulullah said, wa alaikum salam. Go back and pray because you didn't pray. The way he prayed was quick. And although he prayed, it's rejected because that's not the way that the Nabi did that particular thing. That's not the way the Nabi did that particular thing. Another example, the companion, he has sincerity. For the Eid al-Adha, after Hajj, Everybody who has the ability, you have to slaughter an animal for each household. This man, he slaughtered his animal before Salat al-Eid. He wanted to save time. He went and he slaughtered before Eid. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I slaughtered my animal before Eid. Is it okay? The Nabi said, that meat that you slaughtered, that animal, is for your family. You have to slaughter again. And that's because he slaughtered at the wrong time. He did it the wrong way. He did it the wrong way. Too many examples. There's the hadith of the man, the young boy. There was a companion, he was married, and he had a wife. He told a young Muslim man, come work for me in my absence, work and take care of my animals and this and that, because I have to go do something else. While that young boy was working with him and for him, he had relationships with that man's wife. The news was exposed. The father of the boy, he went to some of the companions and he told them, my son did this and this and that. How can I deal with this situation? They said, the companions told him, some of the companions, give the husband a slave as a gift and give him some sheep and it'll be okay. The Prophet ﷺ heard about it. When the man came to him, the husband came to him, the Prophet said, as for your slave and your sheep that you gave to that man, it goes back to you. Because that ruling that the people gave is not in Islam. He said, as for your son, he's going to be flogged. And then he's going to be expelled from Medina. He has to get out for 1 year. And then he told a companion's name is Unais. Unais, go to the lady. If the lady says she did it, stone her to death. Because she was married. The boy wasn't married. So the point here is, from that hadith, the point here is, even if one of us were to go to a judge and the judge were to render a ruling, but his ruling was in my favor, but I produced documents that were not true. I produced different things that are not true. So he judged in my behalf. This thing right here is still going to be rejected because it's not in accordance to what the Prophet brought, sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam. This hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ikhwani, it goes to show that the individual who invents issues in this religion, he sets himself up for a threat from Allah and His Messenger. Pay attention to this. A person who invents something in the religion, mubtadi', and the person who does the bid'ah, both of them, they put themselves in a position where they are threatened by Allah and His Messenger. The Nabi told us sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Yawm al-Qiyamah, the sun is going to be close to the people and they're going to be hot and they're going to be thirsty. So everybody from this ummah will be able to drink from the fountain of the Nabi. There will be some people who will come to drink from the fountain and the angels will come and say, no, you can't drink. And they'll stop them. The Prophet will get involved and say, but they're from my community, they're my companions, they're my companions. The angels will say, you don't know what they invented after you. So the one who invented and the one who does innovation, he won't be able to drink from the fountain Yawm al-Qiyamah and he'll be in need of that drinking. So this hadith shows the one who invents innovations and he does it, he sets himself up for the threat, from the threat. Look at Medina. I want to ask you guys this question. There's an authentic hadith. The Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, man ahdatha fiha hadathan aw awa muhditha fa alayhi la'natullahi wal malaikati wal nas ajma'in. The Prophet said, anyone who protects a deviant in Medina, anyone who makes an innovation in Medina, he said, may the curse of Allah be upon him and the curse of the malaika and the curse of all of the people. That's a threat. Mecca is better than Medina. If you pray Salat al-Maghrib in Mecca, you get 100,000 Maghribs. If you pray Salat al-Maghrib in Medina, you get 1,000. If you pray Maghrib in Bayt al-Maqdis, Jerusalem, you get 250. Mecca is better than Medina. Better than Medina. No doubt about it. The haram of Mecca is there. The Kaaba is better than Medina. And yet, the Nabi didn't say about Mecca, may the curse of Allah be upon an innovator in Mecca. He didn't say that. He said that about Medina. And one of the reasons why he said that about Medina is the city that he lived in. It's the city where his religion flourished. So it's the furthest city from innovation. Mecca may have some innovators because he wasn't in Mecca. Mecca was under Islam, but he wasn't there. As for his city where he lives, he didn't tolerate for there to be any innovation whatsoever in the place where he called it his home, where he was at. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the point here is, anyone who innovates in the religion or practices innovation, he sets himself up for the threat of these hadith, that the curse of Allah and the malaik and the curse of the people. One of the reasons why we mention this, ikhwani, is number one, so that you brothers and you sisters, all of you would always know that you have to ask yourself, when you see people doing different worships in Islam, you have to ask yourself, where's the proof to allow me to do that thing? Don't do it if you don't have a proof. Another reason is Shabbarat. Shabbarat. Now I'm pretty sure that no one here does Shabbarat. But like you, I know people who do Shabbarat. I don't have any relatives who are Asian. But today, I was walking on Lady Pool Road. And on Lady Pool Road, there were some people on Lady Pool Road giving free rice out with meat. They were giving rice out with meat. Anyone who comes by, they just give it to you. It was about 1 o'clock today. Anyone who walks by, they give it to you. I didn't know what it was, but I was hungry. So I went there and I said, what's that food for? And the guy said to me, you wouldn't understand, but you can take it. Then it dawned on me, wow, this is the 15th of Sha'ban is coming. I said, is that for Shabbarat? He said, yes, it's for Shabbarat. I was hungry. And although I was hungry, it wasn't permissible for me to take that rice. My wife is gone. I'm going to travel tomorrow. I have no food tonight. I said, okay, Shabbarat, I could take this food today, go to my library, prepare my clothes, and travel and eat this for dinner. Shabbarat is haram. I didn't initiate Shabbarat. I didn't come up with that. But the hadith, the other one said, anyone who does an action that's not on our religion, not permissible for me to eat 1 grain of rice from Shabbarat. If the individual was extremely poor, he doesn't have any money, Allah knows his situation and he was forced to do it, then no problem. But people like us, we have wives at home, they can cook food, we can go to the restaurant and buy food. Shabbarat food from your relatives, it's not permissible. 1 grain of rice of Shabbarat is haram. It's not from the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. And we know in the Quran and in the Sunnah, people who eat things that are haram, many ayat and hadith have been mentioned, as Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ الْيَتَامَى إِنَّمَا يَأْكُلُونَ فِي بُطُونِهِمْ نَارًا وَيَصْلَوْنَ جَهِيمًا. Those people who devour and they eat the money of the orphans, those people who take it, their money, and they eat with it, they only eat inside of their intestines the hellfire. The hellfire. So the point here is, ikhwani, it's not permissible for us not only not to initiate and to invent and introduce innovations, but it's not permissible for us to partake in them. And in terms of initiating them and making them up, no one here is guilty of that. I'm sure of that, from the men and the women. No one is guilty of that. But we do become guilty of acquiescing and being apologetic and eating that food in order to make people happy with us. That food is not permissible. Last thing that we want to mention concerning this hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam tasliman kathira is the new things that have been introduced in the religion that are not from ibadat, they're not from worship. This hadith doesn't apply to it. The new things, the Nabi said, anyone who introduces something in our affair that's not from it, our religion, will be rejected. Anyone who does something that's not from our affair, our religion, it will be rejected. What about the new things? Like the microphone. This is an invention. And we're using it for the religion. To read the Quran in the masjid. What about your car? You use your car. It's an invented issue. And you use it to come to the masjid, to come to the class. What about the airplane? You use it to go perform umrah and hajj. So the people who insist on doing innovations, they always say this. Yeah, but what about the watch? The Nabi didn't have a watch, and I'm going to use the watch to know what time Salat is. These issues don't fall under the realm of this hadith. The meaning of this hadith, anyone who does something in this religion to get close to Allah in his ibadah, to make a taqarrub ila Allah, huwa, Allah, khuruj, Jamaat al-Tabligh, 30 days, 40 days. Someone who goes and he wants to make jihad and he kills people indiscriminately who is innocent. This is what this hadith is talking about. As for other issues, pay attention, guys. Bilal and Imran are coming in and they're distracting you. Pay attention, it's important. You okay, Bilal? Allah. Concerning the issues of the microphone, the car, the watch, this, that. Number one, you're going to find that there are always proofs, indirectly or directly, that would allow you to do these things, usually. Now, I'm talking to the mentality of the people who, they are people of innovation, and they're always inventing things and introducing things in the deen. So they'll come and say to you, yeah, but what about the watch? What about? We're talking to their mentality. We say, first of all, this hadith doesn't apply because you're going to find a direct or an indirect proof to show this. When the Nabi was sick, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he came out to make salat with his companions after missing many prayers in the masjid. He wasn't able to say Allahu Akbar so the people can hear him in the back. He would say Allahu Akbar very low. And Abu Bakr would say Allahu Akbar so that he can let the people hear. Abu Bakr was playing the role of the microphone. So that's a direct or an indirect dalil. Number two. These types of issues, the car, the plane, all these are from what's known in Arabic as the masalih. Those things that benefit the lives of the Muslims. Those things that if you do them, they'll help the lives of the Muslims. And if you don't do them, they'll make the lives of the Muslims difficult. So Islam allowed it. It's always going to be a direct dalil or an indirect dalil all the time. Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu, they came to the companion Zayd ibn Thabit after one of the wars in Islam. They say, hey Zayd, we're going to make you in charge of the committee to bring the Quran together in a mushaf. During the time of the Nabi, there was no mushaf. Zayd ibn Thabit said, there was no mushaf during the time of the Nabi. I don't care, Abu Bakr and Umar, I respect you, but I don't care who you are. I'm not going to do something that the Nabi never did. He never did, and I'm not going to do it. Abu Bakr and Umar, they respected his position. You can't do anything in this deen that you don't have dalil. The companions knew that. Don't put your foot down until you know you can put it there. That's what Zayd ibn Thabit did. He didn't care this Abu Bakr and Umar. He said, I'm not going to do anything that the Nabi never did. And then they began to talk to him. Didn't Allah say in the Quran, Alif Lam Mim, Dhalikal Kitab, La Riba Fi. This is the book, and it is no doubt Allah called it a book? He said, yes. They said, didn't Allah, and they started mentioning all of those ayats that Allah called the Quran a book. And then after that, they started mentioning the hadith. Didn't the Nabi said, none of you should travel to the land of the enemy with the mushaf? There was no mushaf during his time, Quran book. He said, none of you should travel to the land of the enemy with a mushaf. Amen. Why do you think the Nabi told the people, don't travel to the land of the enemy with the mushaf? Why do you think he said that? You, my man. That Lucas 8 is not helping you. Sheikh, what do you think? All the way in the back, Mr. Hampson, all the way in the back, mashallah. No, you. Why do you think the Nabi said, don't travel to the land of the enemy with the mushaf? I'm going to give you a clue. Just think about Afghanistan right now and the Marines in Afghanistan. Bilal. They would deface it. They'll stomp on it with their boots. They'll put it in the toilet. They'll use the papers of the Quran to clean themselves with stinja. So the Nabi didn't want the Quran to be misused like these kuffar doing today. So when Abu Bakr and Umar said to Zayd ibn Thabit, didn't the Nabi say, don't travel to the land of the enemy with the book? It wasn't a book during his time. Zayd ibn Thabit said, okay, yes. And then he agreed because there were direct proofs to bring the Quran together, although the Nabi didn't do it. Lastly, if the companions agreed to do something, then it's the dalil that it's okay. If they agreed to do it, it's a proof that it's okay. So the point here is, don't you, Abdullah, don't you, when you tell your family and you tell people, don't do innovations. Barat, Shab Barat, don't do that. It's an innovation. And the Nabi said, anyone who introduces, anyone who does an action that's not from it, they say, yeah, what about the sa'ah? What about the car? Hey. What do you mean, what about the car? What do you mean, what about the... These are from the masalih that benefit the life of the Muslims. So, the message here today is, Shab Barat. I know that none of you guys are going to do anything in your house about Shab Barat. It's not permissible for you to go to your parents' house, your relative's house. 1 grain of Shab Barat ruz is not permissible. Anybody know what that word means? Ruz? Ruz is rice. 1 grain of Shab Barat ruz is haram. As for those of you who have parents who are rough and tough, relatives rough and tough, if you don't go, you're going to create massive problems for yourselves. Then out of necessity, it's permissible for you to go, but try to validate your existence by giving dawah and educating the people and mentioning this hadith. What's the hadith again? The hadith from the Kalam al-Jawami al-Kalim. Small words, far-reaching implications. Anyone who introduces something in our religion that's not from it, it will be rejected. And who does something that's not from our religion, it will be rejected, even if he didn't introduce it. So the judge, look at the Jawami al-Kalim, far-reaching implications. The judge, he sits, he listens to the story, and he says, okay, it's yours. The land is yours. And he gives him the land based upon false documentation, based upon different issues. Although the judge gives him the land, you as a Muslim who knows the truth, you know anything that is not on the deen of the Nabi, it will be rejected. If he prayed at the wrong time, he can have all the sincerity in the world. One of the best deeds is to fast. If the person fasts on the day of the Eid, it's not from our religion. It's rejected. It's not from our religion. So you have to have sincerity, al-ikhlas, and it has to be in accordance to what the Prophet brought. If it's not in accordance to what he brought, no matter what your niyat is, it won't be accepted. And Allah is A'la and a'lam. Now, for the next 10-15 minutes, inshallah, 7:15 until 7:15, if you brothers have any questions, inshallah, you can put your questions or your concerns, your comments forward. هل عندكم شيء؟ Concerning Shabbarat, why do the people do what they do? In the Asian community, they don't have any dalil. They don't know what they're doing. They're just making stuff up. But there were some bona fide scholars of al-Islam in the past who used to make ibadah on this particular night. People like Al-Imam Kahul, like Imam, some people from the Tabi'een. Their names escape me right now. Al-Imam Ibn Rajab, in his book Kitab al-Lata'if, he brought some of the names of the Tabi'een who were in Sham, Palestine, Lebanon, in that area over there. On the 15th night, they used to make tahajjud, and they used to turn down the lights and put bukhur, and they would pray on this night. But the actions of the Tabi'een are not a proof for us. The actions of the Tabi'een, the tafsir of the Tabi'een, is not a proof for us by itself. They have to be able to say, this is something that the companions did and something that the companions taught us. So they did. You will find that some people of the past did certain things, but we're going to look at what the Prophet did and said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what his companions did and what he said. Akhi, Billy. Ikhwani fillah, concerning this issue, this is an issue and a research in the usul al-fiqh. The usuliyun talked about this in detail. Is the statement and the action of a companion a dalil, a hujjah by itself? Some of the scholars say yes, and others say no, and others says yes, but with explanation. And that's the best opinion. What the companions did and said is a dalil with some conditions. So how do we know something is halal or haram? We know it's halal or haram because the Quran said it, the Sunnah said it, Ijma said it, Qiyas said it, and number 5, Qawlu Sahaba. After that, the people of Medina, what they did, what they said, like we mentioned, these things that have been introduced, the masalih, al-masalih al-mursala. Number 7, al-istihsan. But number 5, Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, Qiyas, statement of the companion. Statement of the companion and the action of the companion is a dalil and a hujjah with conditions. If the companion said or did something and no other companion went against him in that thing, it's a dalil. If the companion said or did something and it doesn't go against the Quran and the Sunnah, it's a dalil. If all of the companions did something like bringing the Quran together and they agreed to it, it's a dalil, it's ijma'. But if the companions did or said something that goes against the dalil, then it's rejected. Abdullah ibn Abbas at one time felt mut'a marriage was halal, mut'a marriage. It was wrong. The Khulafa al-Rashidin, they took positions, they were wrong. So you don't just take the Khulafa al-Rashidin just because they said something, just like that. Just like that? No. Has to be in accordance to the dalil and so forth and so on. So, as I mentioned, the statement and the action of the companion is a hujjah. If they said something, it was from the ilm al-ghayb, Abdullah bin Umar, Abdullah bin Abbas said, Ayatul Kursi, Al-Kursi, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum la ta'khudhu sinatun wa la nawm. He said the Kursi is the place of the 2 feet. That's the meaning of Kursi. The Arsh and the Kursi. That's in the Ilm al-Ghayb. He would never say that from ijtihad. So that statement, although he never said the Prophet said it, that statement is a dalil in the religion, because he would never make ijtihad from his own head. So we don't say, yes, it's a dalil, no, it's not a dalil. It's with some details. Al-Imam Malik, to prove that the statement and the position of the companion is a dalil, he wanted to prove this to some of the fuqaha. He told some of the people, he said, hey, bring me a sa' of dates. A sa' of dates is a measurement, like a vessel, a sa'. So the people from Medina brought one, people from Khurasan, people from Baghdad, people from Egypt, everyone brought one, and he poured them all out. He came and he said, this is the sa' from the vessel of the Nabi. He had the vessel of the Nabi. He filled it up with dates and he poured it out. And it was different from the other ones. It was the vessel that a companion had from the Nabi. He filled it up. He said, this goes to show that the statement and the action and what the companions do is not like you other people. It's not like you other people. So what we can say for sure is, no doubt that the companions, radiallahu anhum, they're the example for us to be followed. But any individual companion by himself, the only one we follow indiscriminately is the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On a serious level, this hadith really happened, and it's an incident that we do need to understand, because people misunderstand it. And the correct way of understanding it is the way of al-hadith. And al-hadith are people who are just and balanced. And this is an issue that we really have to struggle and strive to attain. Justice in our positions. Don't become too happy when you go overboard. Don't become too angry when you go overboard. I, Abu Usamah, as a husband, as a father, I have to be balanced. I have to look at the needs of my children, my wife, everything. We all have a responsibility to be balanced and just. Concerning this issue, Ali ibn Abi Talib wanted to marry the daughter of who? The daughter of who? Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl. He didn't want to marry some religious girl from Malaysia, somewhere like that. He wanted to marry Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl. When the Nabi heard about that, he said, Wallahi, the daughter of Rasulullah will never marry the daughter of the enemy of Allah at the same time. If Ali ibn Abi Talib wants to marry her, then let him do it. But he got to divorce my wife, my daughter. And that's because why? He has a religious responsibility to take care of Fatima. His daughter is going to be sharing the same husband as Abu Jahl, who died on kufr, animosity, enmity towards the Nabi. How many things is Abu Jahl's daughter going to say to Fatima? Fatima doesn't deserve to hear that nonsense from that lady. So the Nabi knew that this would be a fitna that he doesn't want his daughter to be exposed to. So it shows a lot of benefits. It shows that Ali, the husband who wants to get married again, he has to take into consideration what he's doing. It also goes to show the real reason behind the Nabi not sanctioning this. And another thing, in a narration of this hadith, the Nabi said, I don't make haram what Allah made halal. Meaning, this plural marriage is halal. There's a narration he said, La uharrimu ma ahallallah. I don't make haram what Allah made halal. If Ali wants to marry her, he can do it. But he has to get rid of my daughter. So it's halal. If he wanted to do this, halal. But he was defending his own daughter and her religion and her Islam and her hereafter. So he said, this can't. And I'm going to tell you right now, everybody here, every man, if you got a daughter, put your hand up if you have a daughter. Every man here, if your daughter gets married and then her husband, your son-in-law wants to go and marry someone who, in marrying that girl, is going to be a danger of the Islam of your daughter. I'm talking about a direct danger. He's going to marry some girl who is from Al-Qaeda. He's married to the daughter of the leader of Al-Qaeda. He may get killed. They may come and kill everybody. Then the father has to say, no way, Jose. No way. I'm not talking about the old wife. He marries a new girl and the old wife gets upset. Don't lie. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about him marrying a new girl is going to be a threat for the Islam of his daughter, the life of his daughter. He has to say no. That's the meaning of what the Prophet did in that particular time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have to be balanced. We have to be balanced. But not only does the girl have to be balanced, but also the guy has to be balanced as well. Ali ibn Abi Talib, he could have went ahead and did it, but he refused to do it because he didn't want to upset the Nabi, and because he also knew what the Prophet was talking about, the haqq was with it. And to finish that question off, it's similar to Umar radiallahu anhu. When Umar told Abdullah, his son, Ibn Umar, divorce that girl. Ibn Umar went to the Nabi. The Prophet said, listen to your father Umar. And he divorced her. And he loved her. Now the parent today, a person wants to use that as a dalil. We say, hey. Are you like Umar? You're not like Umar. He married the girl. You're going to just divorce them because you said you don't make salah. You don't know Islam. You're ignorant. Similar with Ali. Someone comes and say, hey. The Nabi said, Abu Jahl. So, la ya akhi. The girl who he married is not like the daughter of Abu Jahl. So we have to be very balanced and we have to fear Allah Azza wa Jal. And I make dua that Allah Ta'ala helps all of us, me at the top of the list, to be balanced. And may Allah Ta'ala make things easy for us. And may Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala help our sisters and help all of us, inshallah, to make the right decisions, especially those decisions that touch our children from close. May Allah help us to be strong in our deen. Any more questions, Ikhwani? No more about marriage, Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, and all that stuff. Faddal. Now, the Nabi used to fast in Sha'ban more than any other month, but after the 15th of Ramadan, he stopped. He said in an authentic hadith, إِذْ انْتَصَفَ شَعْبَانَ فَلَا تَصُومُوا. If Ramadan gets to 15, stop fasting. He used to fast Sha'ban a lot. Akhi Imran, Ali Imran. From the statement in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Ta'ala said, هُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. It is Allah who made everything in the earth for you halal. Everything in the earth. Do whatever you want. Drink, eat, do whatever you want. Until the dalil comes and say, don't drink this, don't eat this, da. And in ibadah, don't do anything, the opposite. Don't do anything until you have dalil. And from them is this dalil that we are using right now. And both sides have multiple dalils on it. Good question, Akhi Imran, Ali Imran. Okay, Ikhwani, we're going to stop here, inshallah ta'ala. And we ask Allah ta'ala to help us and to have mercy on us and to bring us together and to continue to keep the people of Oldbury together. All of us, from the top to the bottom and from all of the sides. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yajma' baynana fi khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.